So, what we're doing here, cultivating mindfulness awareness, is really just learning to rest and abide in our own nature. Our nature, the nature of our mind, is awareness. And mindfulness is really just a way of, cultivating, highlighting this natural quality. And so it's both innate. We all have this ability to be aware, to know what's happening, to be present. And of course, we all know that we don't live there. Right? We live mostly, as you mentioned, in our heads, in our stories, in our views, in our judgments, in our reactions. And so the reason mindfulness is a practice and a path and a cultivation is that we, although we have this jewel of attention awareness, we often become consumed mostly with what's not here, which is our mind and our thoughts and our ideas and views, and so we're learning how to train our attention, how to train the mind to be present, how to cultivate an embodied attention. And mindfulness is a full-bodied knowing experience. And we can cultivate it in different ways. And so we'll do that systematically through different meditations, through different orientations. And we're simply learning to be present with what is. Not what we want it to be, not how we think it should be, not attached to any particular state, but just being here with however you are, with whatever is here, which in this moment is very ambient, very pleasant conditions, warm sunlight, gentle sounds, beautiful light, colors, and soft ocean. But it could equally be with, your achy body, or your fatigue, or feeling under the weather, or feeling stressed and anxious, or grumpy, or tired, or irritable, or struggling with the conditions of wind, cold, bugs, whatever. Right? So mindfulness is radical in that way, in terms of just simply being present to what is, allowing what's here, being curious about what's here, and then noticing when we vacate, when we disappear from this moment. And I often make the joke that in nature, especially in these kind of moments, why wouldn't you want to be present? Why wouldn't you want to be mindful? Why wouldn't you want to be here? Because it's beautiful for the most part. Maybe your mind isn't so peaceful, or maybe your life and whatever's going on in your life isn't so peaceful. But this moment, sunlight, beauty, soundscape, vista, warmth, spring flowers, why wouldn't we want to be present? So what's lovely about cultivating mindfulness in nature is it's very supportive of mindfulness. I think it makes it much more easy to be present, to dwell in the present, to abide in the present. And that's true for many different reasons. So when we come outside, our animal nature wakes up. Our senses wake up. We become more sensorily alive. Right? The senses and the sensory experience around us is naturally calling us into the present. So maybe you're, like right now, if you pay attention, what's calling you into the present? Maybe it's the warm sunlight. Maybe it's the beautiful vista and the light on the ocean. Maybe it's the cool breeze or the fragrant salty air or the feel of the ground or just the pleasant ambience or many kinds of things, right? Just constantly sort of inviting, knocking on it's almost like knocking on the door of attention. Like, listen, smell, see, feel, hear, taste, see, listen, touch, feel. So what's lovely about cultivating meditation in nature is it's for the most part very natural, very effortless, very relaxed. And no matter how much or how easily or how quickly you get lost in your mind and spacing out and whatever distraction of choice is your predilection, that you will be re-invited here over and over. You'll feel, you're lost in some drama about whatever, work or family, and then the breeze picks up, or you feel the warmth, the heat on your skin, or you notice the sound of the bells, the droning sound of the buoys out there. And so we're really just letting nature, in a way, does most of the work. It keeps inviting us, alluring us, attracting us into abiding here, into the physical, sensory present. And there's a couple of other things that are different than when we're sitting indoors. When we're sitting indoors, it's generally quiet. There's a reduction in stimuli, which can be helpful for concentration, but not so helpful for getting lost in thought, because thought sort of gains prominence because there's nothing else going on. When we're outside, when we attune to our body, to breath, to our senses, there's so much more competing for our attention in the present than our mind. So thoughts tend to have less sway. Another thing that happens is we have a more 360-degree awareness. Right? Our attention, when we're indoors, can be very focused. But when we're outside, we feel space. We feel the space above, to the sides, behind us. We feel light all around. We feel the soundscape all around. There's just a lot of dynamism all around us. And so it naturally opens us and expands attention, awareness. And so we generally go with that flow of including a more spacious quality of attention rather than a kind of narrow focus that we might do, say, with breathing. Also, again, in contrast to indoors, when we're outdoors, we generally feel much more connected. When we're indoors, it's me, myself, and I, and my crazy mind, and my computer, or me and my life. And when we come outside, it's like, oh, yeah, there's me and my life, and there's stories and dramas and whatever. Oh, and it's spring, and it's vast, and there's an ocean, and there's people, and there's sunlight, and there's migrating birds, and there's spring fly. Like, it just opens us up into this whole other domain of experience that's not me, myself, and I. And guess what happens when we take our attention off me, myself, and I? We feel more relaxed, we feel happier, and we feel more connected and interconnected with life. We step into our natural reality, which is we are connected. We're always intimately connected. But when we're indoors, we can feel very cut off and isolated, as we all know from the pandemic. And then lastly, what also happens when we're outdoors, and we'll experience this over the 6 weeks, is we start to feel more a sense of expansive heart qualities that we generally might not feel sitting down at 6 a.m. paying attention to our breath, which might be lovely, but also might be challenging and boring and struggle. And when we come outside, we tend to feel more expansiveness, more spaciousness, more peacefulness, more relaxedness, more joy, more delight, more curiosity, more wonder, more awe, more mystery, more love. And that sort of happens just naturally. It's not like you have to try to be curious. You're curious because it's beautiful. You don't try to feel wonder, but it just, the ocean is vast and it's kind of wondrous making, or the night sky, or the flight of a bird. So I really want to invite those qualities of joy, of delight, of spaciousness. And then also, and finally, we can at times experience quite a lot of insight. And again, this sort of happens naturally. You might be sitting and you're watching the waves come in and out, as you might do here, and you just feel like, oh, everything is changing. Everything is constantly a flow. Or you hear the sounds ebb and flow. Or you feel the wind and the temperature coming and going, oh, right, everything is changing. Nothing lasts, nothing to hold on to. Or you start to feel intimately interwoven into maybe the web of life here, and you feel like, oh, I'm naturally part of life. I'm not separate from life. I'm part of the earth. I'm of the earth. And so insights can come quite easily or naturally. And so these are some of the I'd say the benefits, or the facets, or the qualities that can arise when we're outdoors. So, enough words. That'll be probably the most words that I'll be saying all course. So I'm going to invite us to do an arriving practice. And an arriving practice is a practice where we, as the word suggests, we start to arrive into place. And in this moment, this place, and in this moment. So find a comfortable posture, whatever posture works for you, sitting, standing. If you need to stretch for a moment, please stretch. Adjust your posture. If you need to turn your seat towards or away from the light. There's extra cushions, if anybody needs any cushions. So I'm going to first invite you to close your eyes. And just be curious, what's naturally calling your attention? What is alluring awareness? What's the immediate pull of sense experience? What's most immediately apparent? Maybe it's the feeling of the warm sun on your skin, on your clothing, against your body. Or the cool air on your skin. Maybe you're feeling the impression of the ground, feeling the contact of your body resting and supported on the earth. Perhaps it's the soundscape, and the sounds that ebb and flow. Being mindful not to get lost in thinking about the sound or visualizing its source, but just be aware if sounds are alluring, waves, bells, birds. Notice how the sounds and the attunement to hearing allows you to arrive. Or maybe it's the simple movement of breath, and as you breathe, you feel the coolness, the quality of the air, the moisture, the fragrance. Or perhaps it's just the general ambience of sitting outside, feeling the stillness of the morning, the spaciousness of this cliffside, the presence of sitting with others. Maybe you're drawn to the various sensations in your body. So staying curious, what's alluring you into the present, into the sensory present? Notice when you feel like you're settling and arriving here, and then noticing when you feel a sense of vacating. You drift from here into some mental world, some story, some dreamscape, some thought trance, and then you return. Now here, feeling the allure of the bell, the waves, the sun, the breeze, the light, the smells, the breath. And if you wish, you can also open the eyes as a way to orienting here and arriving here. Not to be busy looking around, but just notice if the eyes are open, just noticing the light, the color, form, and movement. And notice how seeing is a very powerful way to arrive, to land into a landscape, into place. See if you can sense into the natural or effortless quality of mindfulness, where you're simply here and attention is allured, drawn to sensory experience, touching, seeing, hearing, smelling, sensing. Close this simple practice with some words from John O'Donohue on presence, where he says, "Awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. Have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. Take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. May you experience each day as a sacred gift woven around the heart of wonder."